being a part of the national team is always an honor. And so when you get together, you try to get on the same page as quick as possible to ultimately go in and play games and try to win.
I've asked you this before, but I have to ask you again. Is all the rumors regarding Martino, has it become a distraction yet?
No, at least not for me, and I don't think for the players in general. I think, as I've said before, when you're at a good team, when you're at a good club, and things are going well, there's always going to be discussions around players, and it just happens to be now a lot of the discussion is around the manager. So it is what it is. It's part of professional sports. It happens not just in soccer. It happens in almost every sport, I would think. And so it's not our job to worry about that. It's our job to make sure we go out and perform and get results and help win games.
Being aware of how volatile things can be around a good team and how different things may be in just a year from now. How aware are you of the idea that we need to get as much out of this season as we possibly can?
Well, I don't think that has anything to do with thinking about a year from now. We in professional sports, you can't be thinking in a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. You're always trying to think in the moment and be in the moment, and so we know that we've put a lot of hard work into the last 9-10 months of going back to preseason. We picked up a lot of good results along the way throughout the season. We've now got 2 really important games, starting with Chicago and then finishing with Toronto, and then we're into the playoffs. But before we even get to the playoffs, we've got 2 massive games. So regardless of what happens in a year from now, we put ourselves in this position to be at the top of the table with 2 games to play.
I guess that goes back to the question of the proverbial window. The window is now kind of thing.
No, of course, and regardless, as I said, regardless of what players may be here next year, what managers will be here, what coaches will be here, what front office staff will be here. I mean, you can't think about down the road. You have to be in the moment, and for us that never changes.
Is that difficult to do?
It's part of professional sports. You speak to some players in other leagues, and you essentially could walk into training one day and have been told that you've been traded. And so you can't be thinking too far down the road. You have to be in the moment, and you have to accept that that's part of your job.
I want to go back to the U.S. men's national team. Can you compare what it's like compared to like 4 years ago? Just because that was the same part of the cycle with this kind of crop of younger players. Is there a different vibe or a different energy or a different way that Dave is kind of managing the camp?
Well, I think in terms of managing the camp, you have to take into account the fact that there's a lot of young players for the first time, maybe only been in a handful of times, and so you have to approach that probably in a different way than you would if you've got senior pros and guys that have been around the national team. So from that standpoint, I think he's been able to help the young guys feel comfortable and feel settled. And in terms of the vibe from this point and 4 years ago, in the start of that cycle, again, down to the fact that guys you probably had a few more guys carry over from the 2010 World Cup, right, going into the start of the cycle for 2014, where going back to last week, there wasn't many of us.
There's more Snapchat and stuff in this.
Yeah, there's definitely more Snapchat, more Instagram Live and Facebook Live, and it's just the world we live in, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
And has it changed your role, kind of as a goalkeeper, kind of leading the back line, giving them orders? during a game, with some of those younger players who don't have the experience?
No, I mean, that comes with the position. I've always said that. Being a goalkeeper, you have to be vocal. You have to be able to organize guys in front of you. You have to be able to relay messages to those guys to make sure you're helping them be in good positions and ultimately try and see things that maybe they don't, and you do that because the game is in front of you. Everything is in front of you, and so from my standpoint, nothing changes there. And every time you step on the field, ultimately you want to compete and make sure that 11 guys on the field know what it means to go out there and ultimately represent your country.
Has Tata addressed the situation at all with the team, given you all any advice how to deal with it?
In terms of what situation? Of his situation?
Rumors, yeah.
No.
Or is it all unspoken?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is what it is. It's none of my business. Ultimately, nothing changes in terms of our preparation to prepare for games from his standpoint. And, we continue to go about our week as we normally do. So I don't think those conversations need to be had. And when those conversations do need to take place, then I'm sure there'll be something to inform us about. But until then, we need to be professional in everything that we do and how we go about our business.
I'll take two more. Is that typical in your experience in England and MLS, if a coach is rumored to either be terminated or taking another job, that they just don't talk to the players about that?
Yeah, because unless something's been signed and finalized, and there's really nothing to talk about. It is just speculation. It is just a rumor. So in all of my experience, especially being over in England, it's very unlikely to have those conversations. It's similar to a player. You don't talk about players' situations and what's going on in terms of transfers and moves and whatnot until a deal is finalized one way or the other, whether it doesn't happen or it does. And so you can't really say, I've heard this rumor, I've heard that rumor. I mean, if we started talking about rumors, those conversations would never end and we'd never go out to train.
Right. One more?
Chicago itself, just what challenges are they going to present to you? And what have you seen from them on film and preparing for Sunday's matchup?
I mean, it becomes a little bit tricky because from their standpoint, they don't have a whole lot to lose. And so they can go into the game a bit more free-spirited, a bit more, risk-taking, if you will. And the fact that they are eliminated from the playoffs, they can play a little bit. Their play can be up in the air a little bit in terms of who we're going to get, and so we need to make sure from our standpoint that we look at ourselves first and foremost, and try to put the game on our terms, and ultimately score first. Because I think if we score first, it not only creates a good atmosphere in the stadium, but also within our team and our club. So that's going to be a huge factor.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, guys.
Brad.
Appreciate it.